confirms there's such a system that allows people to get a hold of slots of health workers who refuse to get vaccinated. Maricel Halili has the big story.
The government has yet to inoculate all 1.7 million medical frontliners, but a number of mayors and even an actor got their job ahead of them. President Duterte named the 9 mayors who got his ire as well as an unnamed actor, knowing that vaccination breaches may compromise the supply of shots from the COVAX facility.
We have to honor the conditions attached thereto. Ang nangyayari ngayon, hindi nasusunod. Kaya magalit yung mga health workers na dapat mauna, yung mga nurses, doctor, health workers.
Among those who got vaccinated early, actor Mark Anthony Fernandez. He received his shot in Parañaque. City Mayor Edwin Olivares said Fernandez was inoculated for his inclusion on the substitute list for health workers. The list includes senior citizens and those with comorbidities to replace those who failed to take their shot.
Lumalabas na yung po tao ay may comorbid po siya. Meron po siyang hypertension. At sinabi ng doktor, meron parang slight na depression, yung anxiety.
But in an article, Fernandez told PEP his only medicines are multivitamins and vitamin C. He also exercises regularly to keep his blood pressure and sugar level normal. Interior Undersecretary Epimaco Densing now questions the system for the substitution list. The DILG is now investigating the vaccination of non-healthcare workers.
Meron tayong approved national deployment and vaccination plan. They're supposed to follow that to the letter. At kung ikaw po ay lumabag at hindi mo sinunod ito po ay nagbibigay sa atin ng udyat na magkakaroon siya ng kasong administratibo.
The palace confirmed that there is indeed a substitution list but failed to detail how the list is vetted.
Ito po kasi yung mga listahan ng mga tao na po pwedeng mabigyan ng bakuna kapag ang health worker po ay hindi dumating or talagang ayaw tumanggap ng bakuna kasi hindi naman po pwede masayang yung mga vials na nabuksan na. No?
Despite the current confusion and apparent disregard in the vaccination priority list, the Interior Department said officials and people who breached protocol will still get their second dose of vaccine as prescribed. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
To help us better understand this system for quick substitutions for vaccination, we have with us Interior Undersecretary R.J. Echeverry. He's joining us live via StreamYard. Yusek Echeverry, welcome to the big story.
Good evening.
Yusek, okay, how exactly does this work? Itong substitution list, who makes the list? Who determines who can be on that list? How quickly can somebody be informed na pwede siyang makakuha as a substitute? How does it work?
To be honest, I haven't seen that list yet. No? That's why we're still on the process of understanding what protocol are we to follow if and when healthcare workers in, let's say, a hospital which the vials of vaccine were reserved will be given to extended families. Kasi I heard from other hospitals na extended sa 2 or 3 family members. We still need to get a formal protocol coming from the DOH on that matter. That is why, as you can see, Yusek Densing has already mentioned that if we are not getting any clear protocol, we have to investigate and give show cause orders to city mayors who will not follow the protocol per se. A good example, in the city of Caloocan, binigyan na ng mga vaccine yung mga barangay captain. Sabi ko, okay lang naman ho yun kasi kung willing na magpa-vaccinate. But what we are after too is to vaccinate first healthcare workers. I'm not so sure if in Metro Manila, all of them are already vaccinated, including Regions 3 and 4A. Ang pakiusap naman lang namin, unahin lang muna natin yung mga healthcare workers. Dadating naman po tayo sa inyo. Lahat naman ho tayo mababaccinatan. Problem is, dahil may spike ngayon, ang increase ng COVID cases, we are now afraid of healthcare workers getting infected. if they are not getting the vaccine at this point in time. O ano lang naman ho linggo lang naman ang babantayan lang ho natin. Allow the healthcare workers first to get vaccinated. You will get your vaccine soon. Yun lang naman po pakiusap namin.
Yusek, linawin ko lang po, when you say na sa totoo lang, hindi pa namin nakikita yan, you're speaking for the DILG, hindi nyo pa nakikita yung listahan na yan. Are you saying literally you have yet to vet the list, or are you saying we don't even know what the protocols are that both Malacanang and the DOH have been talking about today? Or are you saying this is the first time you're hearing about such a substitution list system?
I think it's more of we have to get a clearer data or protocol on that. Because if Secretary Harry Roque has already mentioned it, I think that's already, I go by that, no? I go by that. But we still have to see the protocol on how we could advise the local government. Diba? Kung sige, hindi pumayag itong mga doktor na to, o sige, this will be allowed. Kasi dun ho tayo ngayon nagkakaproblema we still have to see that exemption to the rule.
Yes, I mean,
Kasi malinaw sa amin na
Yes, and Yusek, and as you said, kailangan malinaw yung protocol, but I back up a bit on what you're saying, because now you're quoting Secretary Roque, spokesperson Roque, and as you said, sinabi na ni Secretary Roque, and then therefore the next step is for us to understand what the protocols are. But again, I go back to my question, does that mean this is the first time you're hearing about it from Secretary Roque?
Yes, this is the first time.
Okay. Undersecretary Echeverry, maraming salamat po. The Philippines has recorded yet another all-time high in its COVID case log. Tonight's big number, 8,773. That's the biggest spike yet in a single day. That pushes total active cases to more than 100,000. That's the highest so far in the country's COVID-19 battle. The new figures also brought the nationwide total to nearly 700,000. At least 500 have overcome the illness, pushing the recoveries to around 580,000. 56 succumbed to the disease today.
These are the other big stories tonight. Retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio says the country should go to the UNCLOS tribunal after close to 200 Chinese fishing vessels were seen anchored at the Julia Felipe Reef. Smuggled vaccines into the country did not go through customs. The NBI's latest findings show that the early COVID-19 vaccine arrived through convenient packages. And a sign of hope, not just in Japan, but the world over. Tokyo kicks off its Olympic torch relay for a 120-day journey to usher in the opening of the sporting event in July. These big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. For retired Supreme Court Justice and Isang Bayan convener Antonio Carpio, one option to handle the presence of Chinese vessels at the Julia Felipe Reef is to go to the UNCLOS. In an interview with One News Chiefs, Carpio pointed out that China's move is calculated and timed with its vaccine donation to the Philippines. He said that China's action is no mere exercise of freedom of navigation, but an act of claiming the area as their own.
Yeah, if the president is really brave, he can send a warship. But of course, I'm not recommending that. I'm recommending the legal route because I think that is where we are strong.
The military has beefed up naval assets in the West Philippine Sea after new satellite images confirmed the presence of Chinese vessels in the area. We have One News defense editor Manny Mugato joining us via StreamYard to explain the implications of this new development. Manny, what do you think is China's intention when it anchored hundreds of ships in these waters?
Well, Robbie, we can just speculate on what China will do on Julia Felipe Reef because we could not come near that area because of so many Chinese fishing boats. There were speculations that China might grab the reef, build a structure, and expand it into an artificial island. But I have doubts because since 2002, China has adhered to the informal code of conduct signed with ASEAN in Phnom Penh. It has not occupied new territories, but it has expanded existing territories into artificial islands. But what can happen is similar to what we saw in 2012 when China took control of Scarborough Shoal. They did not build any structures, but they have control over the area by driving away our fishermen. So, in a way, that could happen in Julia Felipe Reef.
Ito yung dating usapin na possession and position, di ba?
Yes, that's right.
Manny, kagabi naman, si former Justice Antonio Carpio was saying we should make an international case out of it. Malakas ang legal case ng Philippines. Ano ba talaga ang options ng Pilipinas to actually force China to withdraw?
Actually, we have very limited options, no? We can do that as suggested by Associate Justice Tony Carpio, but it will take time. It is not instantaneous. It's not overnight. But right now, what we need is to get those ships out of our territory. So maybe what the Philippines can do is to go through diplomatic means. I think the Foreign Secretary has already filed a case, filed a diplomatic protest, but I think there should be bilateral meetings on how to settle this incident.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Manny. That was One News Defense Editor Manny Mugato.
I'm Gretchen Ho, your Woman in Action. Over a year into the pandemic, food has become a constant companion for those forced to stay home. But going for those quick fixes might come at a cost. So how then can one come up with healthier options in the kitchen? Find out in my report. With many Filipinos compelled to stay home as COVID-19 cases rise, the shift to self-isolation may result in cabin fever. To cope with the stress, many resort to food. But to some, that might mean going for quick fixes, something delightful but lacking vitamins and minerals. Nutritionist Dr. Luningning Carvana cautions against that.
Let's say you're hungry and you're craving of salty and sugary or sweet foods. So it's better to stock, let's say, healthy food choices in our kitchens.
But what's the ideal daily diet? A dish should have 1/4 protein from meat or fish, 1/4 carbohydrates from grains, and 1/2 fruits and vegetables where we can get our fiber. For Dr. Carvana, that translates to 25 grams of fiber a day, or around 3 different kinds of fruits, and at least 2 servings of vegetables in a day. Her advice? It's fiber over proteins and carbs.
If you have a lot of protein, let's say amino acids in our bodies, so it creates, when it's synthesized, it creates urine to uric acid. After some time, let's say on the age of 40s and up, gout, arthritis could be developed through time.
And make sure not to give in to overeating, no matter how tempting.
Better to have mid-AM and mid-afternoon snack. Pwede tayong mag-vegetable or fruit. We could have carbohydrate, like let's say root crops.
Thinking about going on keto or intermittent fasting? Dr. Carvana says think twice, as this could only add stress to the body.
We have to nourish our body. If we don't have those or enough supply coming from the natural food, we will we will suffer, or we will reduce the amount that we are getting from the foods.
Sweets and salt intake should also be regulated. She recommends regularly drinking ginger lemon tea to help boost the immune system and stave off sore throat, dry cough, and even trancaso.
You can prepare freshly boiled ginger, lemongrass if you're familiar. Let's say get the extract of the lemongrass, boil it for 30 minutes, and get the extract, put lemon extract or calamansi.
Who knows, ginger tea might just be a good and healthier alternative to that milk tea fix. Gretchen Hall, we are One News. Time for our next one's look at some of the day's big stories. As COVID-19 continues to mutate and its variant spread, an expert believes there may be a need for a third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Of the 4 vaccine firms granted an EUA in the country, only Pfizer and AstraZeneca have so far released reports that their vaccines are less effective against the new variants. Octa research data shows that the COVID-19 reproduction number in Metro Manila has decreased. But the group says it's still too early to tell if this marks the beginning of a downward trend. Meanwhile, the provinces of Batangas and Pampanga are showing a spike in new infections. Russian Direct Investment Fund CEO Kirill Dmitriev eyes the Philippines as a vaccine production hub in Asia. Dmitriev told One News the chiefs they are now at the final stages of negotiations that would allow the Philippines to locally manufacture Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines. Time for another quick break. When we return, vaccines that were smuggled into the country last year may have arrived via luggages or carry-on bags. And dubbed as a bright light of hope for Japan and the world, Tokyo begins the torch relay for the Olympics. A look at the relay after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Within a month, the daily average of new cases in Navotas City has increased 10 times. Residents under quarantine are now required to wear a band that will monitor their movement. How does it work? JC Cosico tells us.
This is neither a bracelet nor a ticket to a theme park. This is a quarantine band for Navotas residents under home isolation. Its QR code is scanned thrice daily to track the residents' movement.
Yung pong kanyang first scan will give the person a 25-meter radius. Okay? So pag lumampas siya doon sa 25-meter radius, magre-report ho siya ng violation. This will ensure ho na kahit paano nandun sila sa loob ng bahay.
Among those wearing the Q band is Barangay Bagong Bayan South Chairman Lito Villanueva.
Pagka lumayo ka ng konti dito sa kwarto mo, para na monitor nila na lumalabas ka.
City officials say they may reconsider the Q band's 25-meter radius limit.
Kasi baka kung merong mga malalaki ang bahay at malalaki ho yung kanilang bakuran. Pero kung ang titingnan ho natin dito yung mga maliliit na bahay, yung 25 meters sa tingin namin tama.
Those caught outside their homes and those who intentionally damage their device will be fined up to 5,000 pesos. Navotas is dealing with a spike in COVID-19 cases. From last month's average of 10 cases daily, the city now logs 100 to 200. Navotas Mayor Toby Tiangco attributed the surge to the new variants. The city is dealing with at least 10 known cases, mostly of the British variant.
Partially, it's because yung iba hindi sumusunod sa health protocols, pero talagang mas nakakahawa siya kahit sumunod tayo.
Infections in Navotas have now reached over 7,000. The Navotas City Hospital's COVID ward is already fully occupied. The outpatient department has been temporarily suspended after hospital staff got infected.
Because we still continue on providing the services via teleconsult and if needed for a face-to-face evaluation.
The city's 300-bed isolation facilities are also full. They're looking into converting schools as isolation facilities pending the Education Department's approval. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Let's take a look at the biggest stories on print and online. From the Philippine Star, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said smuggled COVID-19 vaccines into the country did not go through customs. Guevara said they might have been brought via convenient packages like carry-on bags or luggages. Private flights might have carried the doses. The Presidential Security Group and columnist Mon Tulfo previously admitted that they received COVID-19 jabs without FDA approval. Business World reports that the Bangko Sentral kept key policy rates unchanged at 2%. Lending and deposit rates will likewise remain at 2.5 and 1.5% respectively. The BSP also raised its inflation forecast for the year to 4.2% from 4% previously. And from News 5, the price of bread may soon go up. This as the cost of ingredients such as flour and margarine have also increased. Flour millers explained that the country is 100% dependent on imports and the world market showed a hike in prices.
In world news, efforts are still underway to refloat a giant container ship currently blocking Egypt's Suez Canal. The 400-meter and 224,000-ton Ever Given vessel lost the ability to steer due to high winds and a dust storm on Tuesday. This caused the ship to run aground diagonally across the single-lane stretch of the Southern Canal. A massive ship is now blocking traffic in both directions, leaving dozens of cargo vessels stranded in one of the world's busiest shipping channels. The firm aiming to free the ship says it is too early to tell how long this job might take.
For the big stories in sports, the torch relay for the postponed Tokyo Olympics is now underway, starting its 121-day journey at the Fukushima Prefecture. This low-key ceremony marks the 4-month countdown to the Summer Olympics in July. About 10,000 runners will carry the torch across Japan's 47 prefectures and far-flung islands. The event originally planned to include thousands of spectators, but had to be closed off to the public as a COVID-19 precaution. In the PBA, Blackwater gets 2 additions to its team, welcoming Andre Paras and free agent big man Kelly Nabong. Team owner Diosel Busi confirmed that Andre is putting his showbiz career on pause after agreeing to a 2-year contract worth 3 million pesos with Blackwater. 32-year-old Phil-Am Kelly Nabong is set to sign a 6-month contract with the team soon after being released from Northport. Nabong averaged 11 points and 5 rebounds for Batang Pierre in last year's bubble conference.
Are you a die-hard James Bond fan? A culture website has a positively shocking offer in celebration of the franchise's 25th movie. Nerdbear.com is looking for a Bond fan who can watch the first 24 movies from Dr. No to Spectre in 30 days. The reward? $1,000 and a $50 gift card to watch No Time to Die upon release. That's more than 51 hours of screen time, 7 007s, and lots of martinis, shaken, not stirred. The chosen applicant, a U.S. citizen above 18 years old, will initially receive a $100 gift card to rent the movies. The applicant must also complete a worksheet while watching. Applications are open until April 16.
Something good we can do during the Holy Week?
If not something that people have already done, seems easy enough.
Diba?
Manood ka na lang, mag-streaming ka lang sa bahay. I think a lot of people already qualified.
Keep safe, diba? And let's wait until we get on that substitution list. Ay, wala pala. Meron ba?
Meron, but the DILG just found out about it.
Oh. Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe. Philippines, I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Gretchen Ho, and we are One News. Have a good evening.
Good evening.